Hello everybody. Today I'm going to be reading Diary of a Wimpy Kid: The Return, which is really similar to like the 25 years later story. So if you like that, you'll probably like this too. We're getting really close to 2K subscribers, which is super cool. Maybe I'll do something special for that, but thank you for all the support. Anyway, I'm not really going to drone on with a long intro. Just like and subscribe if you like Wimpy Kid. And yeah, let's get into it. Diary of a Wimpy Kid: The Return. Prologue. Everything was going well in my life. I was living the life that I'd always dreamt of, rich and famous, not needing to worry about working. Gregory, tell us about your childhood. Were you always so smart and handsome? Here's my journal, now shoot. That fell apart pretty fast though. I'm now broke and heavily in debt. I blame these journalists, who I had paid so much for positive coverage, turning on me because what I had done was unethical. Who would have known that paying people below the minimum wage and sending them to work in sweatshops in foreign countries was unethical and inhumane? I'm now in desperate need of money, and none of my friends, quote unquote, are willing to lend me some. I decided, after thinking for a long time, after some careful consideration, to retrace my steps, travel back home, the home where my parents still live and where I grew up, to ask for money. No, to solicit monetary assistance from them, my family, in a calm manner, as if I'm still in control of my life. Wasn't I always someone in control of everything? Prologue, Day 1. After driving the journey from the city back to my hometown, it didn't really seem that far away after all. I should confess that after high school I left and never came back. During this long period of time, the only form of communication I had with my family was sending them letters, though mostly short ones with the occasional postcard, which would seem hypocritical considering my criticism of Gammy's use of letters in the past. Dear family, I'm doing well and I hope it is the same for you. I wish you all a happy new year. Sincerely, Greg Heffley. As I arrived, I passed by my old middle school, and for some reason, I stopped there for a while. It's not like I missed the place, I detest it. I even abhor it. I don't know if I said that word, I don't even know what that word means. As I was about to step back into my car, somebody who was walking on the sidewalk caught my eye, and believe it or not, I managed to find and recognize Shirag. Hey Shirag, that was nasty. Oh, damn, that was a mean voice crack. Hey Shirag, it's Greg. It's been a long time that we haven't seen each other. Hi man, it really has been. What are you doing back here all of a sudden? Last time I heard about you, you were doing very well in the city. Yeah, my Indian accent's rusty. Yeah, that's enough of that. Well, everything kind of crumbled not long ago. After a pretty long conversation catching up on everything that happened in the last decade, I'm happy to say I finally found a friend again. As I was about to leave, I realized that I had nowhere to stay for this night. You see, as I wanted to make sure I could really think everything through before meeting my family, I thought about coming a day early to better prepare myself for the following day. Fortunately, my perfectionist self forgot that I did not have the money to stay at a hotel. I decided to take a chance with Shirag. He might just let me stay at his home. I, of course, omitted the part about me not having enough money to stay at a hotel, because I don't want him to have a negative image of me. I also hadn't talked about my downfall and the real reason for my visit during our conversation. Luckily, the subject did not come about. I know it's a weird request, but can I stay at your place for the night? I forgot to book a hotel room for the night. Oh, well, I guess, yeah. I do have an extra room at my house. In fact, you could stay there for as much time as you like to. We don't usually have guests. Well, that last part was weird. We just met after all this time, and it's not like we're best friends either. I gladly accepted his offer, though I did not specify how long I was going to stay here. As I got back to my car to follow him, I realized that maybe the last part didn't just come out of nowhere. Maybe he knows everything but didn't want to say it out loud. Why though? Prologue, Day 2. I woke up this morning and after using some of my limited amount of money for some breakfast, I took a stroll around the streets of what used to be my old neighborhood. After walking aimlessly for some time, I found myself on Surrey Street. Two words I've not uttered for years. I stepped in front of some of the houses, trying to see if I could still remember who lived in them. I ended up in front of one that I had recognized at first glance, and I would have continued walking as fast as possible. With the luck that I have, I did it too late, and the homeowner started talking to me. Hey Gregory, would you like to have a burger? As I did not eat very well this morning, I accepted the offer and ate the burger. While eating, I pretended not to notice that Fregley was staring at me the entire time. As soon as I finished the last bite, he began speaking. Did you come back to... Oh, wow, not a great day today. Another voice crack. Fregley voice is tough, though. Did you come back to talk to your family? Long time you haven't been back. After thinking for a while, I told Franklin that he guessed it right. Before I knew what to say, Franklin continued and talked about how he had watched my career with great interest. Bro, he swears he's like Emperor Palpatine or something. He knew all about my rise and downfall, knowing even the smallest details. I asked him how he knows so much about me, and he told me that he had collected every single newspaper article that mentioned me. You've made quite a name for yourself, Greg. You even say that your obsession to be popular ruined you. Compare yourself to me. We're both very unpopular kids in school, yet the one who cared more about that social construct ends up ruined by it. Look at me. I'm not popular, but I'm living a stable life and I'm about to get married. What Franklin said made me think for a while, but I'm not about to take some advice from someone who used to eat snow and fertilizer. I thanked him for the meal and scurried away. Not long after, I was in front of my house and I could see my parents, Manny, and Roderick inside. I don't know if it's me, but nobody really aged that much. Well, except Manny, who's now in high school. 10 years really isn't as long as I had imagined. As I was about to go and knock on the door, I realized that I had come 10 minutes early, as we were only gonna meet at noon. I decided it was a better idea not to come early, though a small part of me wished that I hadn't even bothered coming. Seeing my family after such a long time just felt weird to me, but I don't have a choice since nobody's willing to lend me money. I decided to continue walking around the neighborhood, continuing to think about how I should word my request. What if they don't want to help me? It's been 10 years and I haven't spoken to them. And it's not like I wasn't able to, I just chose not to. As I continued walking up the hill, something made me walk towards one of the houses. One that I had forgotten, but that I instantly recognized. One that I frequented all the time when I was still in school. Maybe it's nostalgia or some need for advice that's making me knock on that door. Because I had everything planned out for this trip, except for these encounters with old acquaintances, which keep throwing me off, and this next one's about to do it on a much more profound level. Greg, what are you doing here? Rowley is the only person that I had kept in contact with from my hometown, other than my parents. Well, that wasn't until 5 years ago when he tried to convince me into giving up my business's practices because they were not very kind. I ended up cutting him out of my life, and sometimes I wish I hadn't, because after that, life kind of went downhill. I stood there not saying anything for a while. But by the time I'd made up my mind on what to say, Rowley spoke again. I know what you did to those people, Greg, and you aren't very remorseful of it, are you? I'm not here to talk about that, Rowley, and even if I am, Greg, I don't want to talk to you. You're clearly unapologetic, and what happened 5 years ago made me remember how you treated me in school. I wasn't expecting Rowley to be so aggressive towards me when I hadn't even uttered a word. When I tried to give him a piece of my mind, he slammed the door shut. And by the way, I'm not gay, Greg. If I knew he would have abandoned a friend like that, I wouldn't even have felt sorry for his failed thermos joke when he was trying to introduce himself to me all those years ago. Anyway, I have to start heading for my home now. Probably all waiting for me at the door. End of prologue. Day 2. The reunion. Hello, Gregory. Welcome back. It didn't seem that bad after all. I mean, Mom and Manny were very excited about me coming back, but Dad and Roderick, not so much. Roderick even seemed disappointed. They all hugged me except Roderick, who insisted that a handshake was enough. Mom asked me how I came and if I was tired. You know, all those cliched questions people always ask you when you meet them after a long trip. I lied for the most part, telling her I had a room in a hotel for tonight and only just arrived in Plainview. Hey, Bubby, it's very nice of you to come visit us. Calm down, Manny. Leave the conversation for lunch. Roderick seems to still hold a grudge against me. It's not my fault that everyone wants to find success in life. You just arrived. There's no need to excite him. Plus, lunch is going to be quiet. Greg doesn't like talking. Why do you always have to ruin all the fun, Roderick? I'm not. I'm just being realistic with my expectations. Manny seemed ready to start arguing with Roderick, but Mom stepped in by asking us to sit down at the dining table for lunch. I don't think you know about it, Greg, but we got a new dog. Yeah, and we called him Greg, just like you. Also, I'm about to graduate from high school. I'm super excited to leave this place like you did, Bubby. What? As Manny continued to ramble on about his future plans, I kept wondering about why they would have a dog with the same name as me. My thoughts were interrupted when Roderick answered my question for me. We named the dog Greg, just like you, since we never expected you to come back. He's been your replacement here. Gee, thanks, family. Except the occasional question from Manny, the rest of the lunch continued in silence. After we all finished lunch, I started exploring the house, which I formerly considered home. Day 2. Room. The first place I went to was my old room. As I walked into the room, I felt someone come up behind me. "Don't you miss this place, Bubby? When you left, I convinced Mom to leave everything in its place as if you were going to eventually come back. And Manny seemed to have a good job at that. The room seemed to be frozen in time. Everything is still in the same place where I had left him. In a few months, I'll be following your footsteps and leave this boring place just like you did. I did not make many friends here as I was spoiled early on by Mom and Dad. I envied you, you know?" Wow, Manny's apparently self-aware now. Though I'm still waiting for him to apologize for everything he did to me back when we were younger, Manny waited for a moment, as if expecting me to respond, but I stayed silent. Every time you sent a postcard, or when pictures of you appeared in the papers, I'd always imagined myself in your place. Yet I never asked to visit you. Maybe it was out of fear. Maybe keeping that lifestyle far away from me made it more enticing than what it really was. I meant to turn around and ask Manny what he meant by all this. How the idea that you could both look up to something and more specifically my life, while fearing it doesn't make any sense. I thought about what Franklin said to me while listening to Manny, and I felt like I was gonna maybe cry. When I turned around to ask my questions, Manny was already gone. Day 2. Mom. After walking around the house looking for Manny, I decided to ask Mom for help, as she out of all people would probably know where Manny is hiding now. Mom was sitting at the dining table drinking coffee when she saw me. She gestured at me to come sit next to her. "This thing really is none of my business. I don't like to be involved in the life of others. They want to talk to you about all this. I've heard them wishing for it. Roderick, despite his cold appearance, still cares. He took a leave from work today just so he could be here. Manny is a completely different story. When you left, he was a wreck, but as time progressed, he seemed to have convinced himself that he should follow your footsteps. Mom's words kind of made me feel bad for leaving, but it's too late now. What's done is already done. You're always an arrogant, lazy, narcissistic, and manipulative person, Greg, and I take part of the blame for not doing anything about it. But you came back, and I don't want to hear your reasons for doing it, as it may well be some selfish ones. Whatever you do, don't tell your brothers either. They'll get scared, they might rush certain things and not think things through while interacting with you." Mom then started asking me questions, but I chose to stay silent. "If you don't want to answer my questions, that's fine. I'll ask of you now to not hurt your brother's feelings anymore. Try to talk to them, try to change." Day 2. Dad. Since Mom was just going to continue lecturing me, I decided to cut her short by saying that I was looking for Manny. She told me that she last saw him heading for the basement. As I looked around for Manny, I saw Dad in the furnace room working on a Civil War battlefield. "Hey, Dad." "You know, Greg, I know it's a bad start to a conversation, but I still cannot figure out why you came back to us. I don't tell this to kids very often. It's a regret I have, but I'm proud of your success, Greg. You managed to be the richest person from this town. Unlike General Grant, when you got all that power, you did not do any good. Said you were getting entangled in multiple scandals. All I could say now is you've tarnished your reputation, and that reputation, once lost, will never be regained." I left before he finished. I'm not here for the lectures. Day 2. The plan. After leaving mid-conversation, I went directly to my room and locked the door. I did not want to be disturbed. When we grow up, and when we reach a certain age, we want to leave. Leave the place we called home and head towards the unfamiliar. We tell ourselves that sooner or later that unfamiliarity will fade away, and then we could call the unknown home and the strangers neighbors. Later, when we grow older, we realize that might not be necessarily true. That people and places might not necessarily welcome you with open arms, and that you have to prove to them that you deserve your place there. Even when you earn a place, they can still kick you out. And then, when we run out of places to stay, you have nowhere to go. Seek refuge at the place where we were born, since we know that we already have a guaranteed spot there. People will be there to help us. I had found the empty seat in the city. I had made a throne from a beat-up chair passed down by another person. Fame gave that chair to me, but it also took it away. Medias went from surrounding me to frowning upon me. And now I'm back with the people who harassed me when I was in middle school, to await any type of privilege I could have had and bestowed it all upon one person. We're clueless about how teenagers behave, and finally forced me to become their version of what a person is. Change your plans. I'm not going to ask them for the money. I'm not gonna owe them any favors in the future, nor show any weakness. As you know what you would have, as you have, man, as Dad would have said. Sorry, damn. I'm not on my A game today. Years ago, I had hidden Mima's ring for this exact purpose. This afternoon, as I'm about to leave, maybe even leaving forever, I'm gonna steal it. No, steal is too strong of a word. I'm gonna reclaim the ring. I hear someone coming. Day 2, brother. Roderick stood there at the door, asking me if I had seen Manny. No, I didn't see Manny. Wait, I want to tell you something. What? I actually came here a lot earlier than what I told you all when I arrived. I actually got here yesterday, and this morning when I got to the door, I left when I realized I'd come too early. 10 minutes early to be exact. I'll admit, that wasn't the best way to start a conversation. Roderick looked at me for a moment and his expression turned to disdain. Why are you telling me this? Did I ask you anything about this? Is this your idea of a conversation, Greg? Is this what you imagine a conversation with your brother is after not seeing him for all these years? Yeah, I shouldn't have added anything. The fact that you could remember these details in such a precise manner just shows how much you regret coming here, how much you hate this place. You can tell me all about being a careful person, Greg, but I already know what you are, what you're really feeling. I see it in your eyes, that look that everyone gives when they are just wanting to leave, when they're feeling trapped. Isn't it ironic? You feel physically trapped when you're here, so you try to torment me by trapping me in all your meaningless tangents. Next time, try and actually think about what you were saying before speaking, Bobby. So much for trying. Day 2. Departure. It's time for me to leave. Everyone's waiting for me outside. Mom is sad. I think she's about to cry. Dad is thinking. I don't know about what. It's not important. Roderick and Manny are talking. Roderick is, as always, is depressed, though Manny is happy. I don't know why either. They must have just told him something, some lie to comfort him. Now's my chance to get that ring. I have about 5 minutes. I told him that I would like to explore my home alone for a little before leaving. I go up the stairs towards my parents' bedroom. My heart is beating heavily. I feel sweat running down my face, making my shirt collar slightly wet. I head into Mum's closet, ready to accomplish the act. After moving Tickles 4 and Tickles 5 out of the way, the egg appeared, as if it was waiting for me all these years, untouched and unscathed. I reach up to grab it. There should be no one, so I sneak out down the stairs, trying not to arouse any suspicions by seeming panicked. But when I turn my head, I see that someone has been waiting for me. Distracted, I misstepped. Oh, and then it's over for Greg. It's over. Day 2, Reckoning. As I recovered from my slight daze, I watched a ring get picked up by the person, and I realized who stood there. It was Roger. Well then, what do we have there? Was this why you returned? He didn't really seem shocked to see the ring, but you can see that deep down he's slowly coming to the realization of where this ring came from. I try to play it off. It's not what you think, Roderick. I was about to reveal it to you guys so it'd put us all in a better position. Roderick didn't seem to buy this as he put the ring in his pocket. Do you really find that believable? I came back for my sweater, thinking that maybe I could tell my brother something nice before he leaves, maybe forever, only to find him stealing a long-lost family ring. What am I supposed to say, Greg? I stood there without saying a word. I did not know what to do. Soon after, Dad, Mom, and Manny started coming into the house. And before that, do you know what you did? You took my career away from me. Flashback 10 years ago. It was another day of summer, practicing all afternoon with Loaded Diaper. We were filming another music video, if you could call it that. After finishing our practice and everyone else leaving, Bill pulled me aside to tell me something. So, Rod, there's something I need to talk to you about. I was a little worried, as I'd never seen Bill looking so serious before. Was he about to call it quits? He looked a little stressed throughout practice. So I got a call from a record company yesterday. They were interested in signing us. I couldn't believe it. After all these years, our hard work was finally going to pay off. We were finally getting a chance to become a world-renowned rock band. We have all dreamed of becoming. We did it, Bill. We finally did it. That's probably one of the best moments of my life. We went out to celebrate with a drink, and during my walk home, I still couldn't believe what Bill just told me, as everything just felt so unreal. A week later, after working out a few more details with the record company, Loaded Diaper agreed that each member would invest at least $3,500 and the label would help pay for the rest of the cost. Despite Mom and Dad's enthusiasm, when they heard the cost, there was a slight problem. We'd love to be able to say yes to you, brother, but with your Roger, but with your brother going to college, we're going to be in heavy debt. And if your musical endeavor fails, we won't be able to help in any way. Would you maybe just keep a part of that amount for the family? I'm sure Greg would be thankful. I'm sure to manage that Greg somehow managed to get accepted by an Ivy League. The problem was that the tuition cost, not counting monthly expenses, is monstrous, and Dad had to work extra hours to keep up. pretty soon he got sick and had to stop, so we were forced to find other ways. By my own choice, I had been taking almost half of my salary at my job to help Greg pay, but a large chunk went to my bank account and the rest to Loaded Diaper. The problem was taking $3,500 just like that would destabilize the situation, not counting the possibility that I may have to leave my current job. After spending an entire night calculating, I decided to lower my investment. Not wanting Dad or Mom to have a hard time or Greg being unable to pay, I called Bill the next day to let him know. So Rod, you okay with paying? Everyone's ready now. Bill, there's a small problem. I won't be able to pay $3,500. I can only afford $2,750. Funny joke, Roderick. So are you in or not? We need to respond by tomorrow. I'm serious, Bill. I'm sorry, I can't afford the original amount. I'm doing this for my family. What do you mean, Roderick? It was part of the deal. If you don't bring the money, we're gonna miss our big chance. I'm really sorry, Bill, but I've made up my mind. I can't let my family go broke. We won't miss our next chance. There was a moment of silence before I could open my mouth to speak. Bill spoke. Roderick, are you seriously gonna abandon everything now? We've worked and played for so many years without any success. When our first big opportunity comes, you say no? You're gonna ruin everything for us because your whiny little brother can't do things himself? I'm sorry, Bill, I really am. You guys could go on without me. I hung up. I ended up helping them find a replacement, and just like Bill said, the first album ended up doing very well. Loaded Diaper has since then taken off and become one of the most popular bands and had global tours. Bill Stalls talks me here and there, and sometimes with the original other band members. Give me a small amount of their profit, but it isn't the same as playing with them. Back to present. Roderick went on about how I was the reason that Loaded Diaper broke up, despite the fact that I wasn't even near him at the time. Roderick stopped for a moment and tears started to roll down his face. I thought that I could be the good brother and go comfort him, but it was a mistake. If you touch me, I'll kill you. Mom and Dad then tried to calm him down. Calm down, Roderick, he's about to leave. Let's end this return nicely, Roderick. There's no point in arguing now. But Roderick exploded. It's always me the villain, isn't it? I've read your diaries, Greg, and man, do you like to play the victim? And just so we're clear, then he said something I never thought he'd say. You're a ploopy, Greg. Then Manny tried to intervene too. You shouldn't say that, Roderick. Roderick ignored him. He continued speaking calmly. The day you left, I had high hopes for you. Thought that maybe you'd be the highlight of the family. Thought that you would be able to justify the amount of care Mom and Dad gave to you compared to me. I had convinced myself that the reason that Mom and Dad financed you to go to that university is because you're more gifted than me. So I said fine, because take my money, because Greg will sooner or later be paying us back. Boy, was I wrong. You decided to use all the money we gave you in order to be able to concentrate on your studies to party. Don't deny it. I saw the photos. At the time, I tried to invent reasons for myself. He just had a stressful time. He deserves to be able to celebrate. Once I saw how much those parties became a daily occurrence, I wanted to cry. Should I tell Mom and Dad how all their hard-earned money was put to waste? Did I just break Loaded Diaper up for nothing? Knowing that you wouldn't even dare to call us back, I decided to secretly take as much money away from our monthly transfers to you while making sure you had enough to survive. Sure enough, you never called us. You thought that we had found out, so you decided to block all four of us on every communication platform. I have no regrets. Was all that true, Greg? Is that why you never spoke to us again? I felt sick in the stomach. I didn't know how to respond. Everyone was staring at me. Mom and Dad looked stunned. Mom even looks like she's about to cry. Manny looked the most shocked. He had his mouth open. They were all looking at me, waiting for me to say something. Felt like I had just told an unfunny joke in front of a packed theater, as a deafening silence stretched for what seemed like an eternity. Roderick isn't lying. I stole from you. Finally admitting everything now, are you? You know, I would speak with your friend Rowley from time to time, and man, are you a nice person, Greg. And despite all that, both of us never wished any ill for you because we thought that there's a slight chance that you might be able to one day realize how much you screwed up. We were too naive, weren't we? You're a wimp, Greg. You've cheated in everything in your life, and you've ruined your family and your best friends' lives. Every day I think about how I shouldn't have given you the benefit of the doubt. Roderick wasn't lying about Rowley. When I was in the city, he was the only one who was genuinely a friend, and not parasite sticking to me for my money. Roderick was still talking, something about how he had luckily cut off the transfers or else the family would have been bankrupt. Bobby, I think you should just leave now. There's no point in you staying. Roderick might get even more mad. I have nothing against you, but you need to leave now. Manny was right. If I stayed any longer, Roderick would continue to chew me out about how I abandoned them. And the worst is that he is right, and I have nothing to say to defend myself. Thinking back about what I was planning to do, I felt very guilty. Mom and Dad were silent. They were probably still processing the fact that their son stole from them for 10 years, from them 10 years ago, and no one told them anything about it. Goodbye. No one responded. It's not like I was expecting them to, but it felt like an eternal goodbye, but something in me hoped it wasn't. I closed the door and without looking back, walked slowly down the street, towards Shirog's house. As I walked, I thought about what I could have done differently, what I could have done to prevent the disaster that was this return. Day 2. A second chance. After thanking Shirog for letting me stay, I prepared to leave. Before getting into my car, though, I turned around. Why did you let me stay at your house, Shirog? Do you know what I did in the city? Yeah, I know. You got into some shady business and got into some scandals. Everybody in town knows. Sherrod paused for a moment, thinking. And to respond to your first question, I guess it's just what being a friend means. I know you screwed up in a big way. Roderick and Raleigh told me what you did. But I believe that there's still some good in you, and that you still become better. Sure, you screwed up big, and some people will never forgive you for what you did. But that doesn't mean that you should just accept what they say about you and give up on them. At least, the least you could do is admit to them that you made a mistake, then try and do better. Then let the newer used action prove to them that you have changed and you deserve a second chance. I guess what I'm trying to say is when I saw you return, I thought to myself that maybe you came back to better yourself. So I said as a friend, let me help you with that. Thanks, Shirog. No problem, man. No hugging, though. Epilogue. After driving to the city to gather what remained of my belongings, I moved into Shirog's home a month later, ready to restart my life. I've made good with both Shirog and Fragley, and I can happily both call them my friends, as I navigate through what would be a tough chapter in my life with their help. I have also gotten a job as a nighttime janitor in the mall. Although it doesn't pay as much, it guarantees me a job while not making me risk meeting my family and other friends as of now. I haven't spoken to my family since my departure, but I've promised myself that I would once my situation stabilizes. When I have a little more time passes, that they probably won't want it for some time, and reasonably so. Making amends with them would be very difficult, especially with Roderick. I'm not expecting them to forgive me for the foreseeable future, but as Shirog said, I need to do my best to convince them to. However, I still feel incomplete, as another person is still missing in my life. I'm about to knock on his door and try, knowing that it would take time to repair our friendship. The future is uncertain to me, but I'm ready to start new, knowing that I have nothing to lose. That's the end. Hope you all enjoyed. I really like this one. Maybe we'll see a part 2, but I think it's a cool story just on its own too. But yeah, anyway, like and subscribe. We're so close to 2K. I think we could definitely hit it. I think we could hit it today, honestly. Why not? We could hit it by next week, I'll say. There you go. Yeah, hopefully we hit that goal. I appreciate all the support. And yeah, the longer readings are back. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out. Bye.